Namaste, Pradeep here from Bali Yoga Ashram, and today we shall talk about one of these seated positions, which is called Gomukhasana, translated as cow facing pose. And this video is especially a guidance for beginners, what they should work upon, because especially being a beginner, many people will face challenges into the way to get into this position. Let me first quickly show that how this position looks like. So knees are stacked over each other, the same side of the knee. Right knee is on top, so right hand goes overhead and grab the hand behind, and then you kind of look up. Now this position, for many people, no matter beginner or advanced, for some people this position may still be not so accessible, and there's nothing wrong about it. We need to understand this, that not always getting into a position is something we should work for. What we should actually work for is the process to get into any position, because anyway, if you are getting into any pose, there must be a process to get there, and if you focus on a right way to get into some position, you will end up encountering different experiences. But if you only focus on that you have to reach somewhere and you force yourself, maybe with the help of some props, and you modify the pose and you just made the pose in the way that you are into the pose, that sometimes may be an unnatural way to get there, and body can result in having painful sensation or sometimes injury. So let's talk about cow facing pose and the fundamental process that you should follow. So cow facing pose is especially basically it is the movement of your hip and your shoulder. So let's start with the hip movement. So hip is about your pelvis and your thigh bone, right? And in cow facing pose, the elephant ear, it is stable, it's not moving, it is kinds of square, it may be a little up and down, but it should not move. What we basically move is the thighs. So what are the thighs movement? Basically the primary movement is outward rotation of the thigh and slightly bringing it in. So basically what we want is, if you are good at outward rotation of the thigh, which is also common in lotus pose and any position, any seated position, so it'll be easy to sit into this position. So basically what I see many people struggling with is, let me first show you that how you can start performing this. So what you do is, you can choose to start with any knee, any leg. So bring the heel of one leg on outside of the opposite hip and bring the knee just in front of the navel. So it should make a nice triangle from the knee, shin bone, thigh and hip, right? And similarly what you do is, you bring the other foot or heel of the foot touching the opposite hip, and then this knee should be pressing down. Now if you are hunching backward and then you try to push the knee, it may be a little challenging. So what you try is, place the hands onto the feet, push through the feet, straighten your hands, lift through the spine, sit very tall, and then push the knee down. It'll become a lot easier. Now many people who are unable to sit tall into this position, they modify this pose by placing a block under the hip. And what happens then, as you can even see right now, the gap or space between my knees, if I keep a block, what happens is right away the gap is bridged and I can feel and sit very tall. Now a block or any cushion keeping under the hip can be a good modification, but what I want you to understand is, if you use any prop not to help you improve into the position, rather help you get into the position, that is a different scenario. But if you are willing to improve and get better into any position, I would say do not use those props. Rather try to perform those actions and forces from within the body which will help you get better, because you do not have to perform this position today. You may be just beginning to learn it, and it is okay. It's very important to learn the process of doing something instead directly having that, right? The experience comes because you are traveling the journey to reach some destination. It's not because you are at the destination. Similarly, if you directly force yourself, maybe by forcing yourself or with the help of somebody else, or maybe using any prop to get into the position, Now you are in the position, and then when you are in the position, you know it now. Since you are in the position, you may not work to improve. So it's very important that we learn to be or reach any position with the help of our own body if you want to improve, right? Because ultimately we want to avoid anything which is additional out of the body helping us get in any position. So let me show you that what are the fundamental movements which can help you improve. So basically, what is the time when you have to improve in this position is generally when you sit in this pose. If you are a beginner or not having enough flexibility or mobility into the hip, that can help you restrict from reaching the top knee, especially to the floor, to the knee. And in that case, this foot may not also be touching the hip, and the knee will be away from the other knee. So what I want you to do is perform those actions which help you increase, get better, which help your body to understand it, what they need to do in order to help you, instead of using any additional force. So what you do here is bring the heel wide first. Do not bring the heel close. Bring it wide as if you are trying to bring the knee on top. And when that happens, it will kind of pull your hip closer between, which will give you a gentle stretching sensation, which is good because we need to stretch the muscle down there. And then what you do is squeeze the heel into the hip. So both the heels are squeezing the hip. And then what you do is you push the knee, both the knees down against the floor, and then try to sit tall. So you're trying to push your sitting bone down and backward. Sitting bones are trying to push down and backward. Heels are squeezing against each other, and both the knees are trying to push against the floor, and then you sit tall. So if you perform these actions, no matter you are into this position, maybe you are just here, but performing those actions will kind of help you get better. If you think that when you are generating these forces, they are not helping you at all, you may use a little bit of your hands to adjust your body, but make sure the most of the effort is being done by the force from the body, not from the hands. After that, let's talk quickly about the hands. The position of the hand, how it looks from behind. Let me show you quickly. So basically, this is the position of the hands behind the back. Now many people, what they do is they will grab the strap if they cannot grab the hands, and then they will try to pull them closer. If you do that, it can become little not so proper because your hands are held or stuck into a position and then they are trying to move closer. It's not all dangerous, but sometimes it can help you give a painful sensation because you are forcing yourself too close. So what you do instead of doing that is try to perform that movement very actively without using the strap. So what you do is, let me tell you those actions. So first you take, so generally what is done is, if I'm doing this position like this leg is on top, the same side of the hand goes overhead. So take the hand overhead. Now what you do is turn the elbow outward. So turn the elbow outward, elbow facing away. Now once the elbow is facing away, bend the elbow and now push your elbow behind the head. This is the action, but do not do this with the help of hand. Do this without hand. Push your elbow behind the head and try to walk your hand downward as if you want to reach your tailbone. You'll never reach there, but try to walk your fingers down towards the sitting bone or tailbone, and push your elbow backward and towards the center of the head. You see? Now similarly with the hand which is under, what you do is turn your shoulder inward first and pull. Try to take your hand on the other side, and what that will do is it will try to bring the elbow all the way in front, in the center of the body, which is behind, and the closer it reaches the center, the higher it will go. Make this note that the closer your elbow will go to the center of the body, the higher it will go. And then once you have your hand outside here and your elbows is close to the center of the spine, then bend the elbow and reach the hand high toward the head. But make sure you are not using any strap, not using your hand to do this. Just do these actions with the help of the strength of your shoulder, and slowly, maybe you are not touching your fingers or maybe you are not in the correct position, but just performing these actions will help you get better with this position. Because as I said in the beginning, that these are the tips when you are willing to improve, and of course you want to. And in order to get better with this particular exercise, of course, all the other movements which are which are like sitting into a cross leg position is a good exercise for this. Sitting into this position, doing any exercise like simple exercise that we do in Gomukhasana series, all those joint movements which you especially do for hip in order to improve that movement is very helpful. Trying sitting in half lotus, if you do full lotus, it shouldn't be a big problem for your knee. And then mobilizing your shoulder in any way, like simply doing joint movements, not forcing, can slowly help you progress and help you get better with this position. So I hope you got the idea. Do not, if you are willing to improve, if you are willing to know the process and willing to experience the journey, make sure you focus on the process and understand the fundamentals to get into a position, especially when it comes to yoga asanas. Do not directly put yourself there because you want to impress others sometimes. So make sure you are willing to improve. So I believe you understand what I mean. Thank you for paying such wonderful attention. And I would like to invite you to our school in Bali. It's named Bali Yoga Ashram. You can visit the website www.baliyogashram.com to visit our courses and programs. So thank you. Hope to see you in Bali. Namaste.